You discovered that the Saintess you abducted was acting rather strangely. She constantly wore a look of disdain, using her shifting expressions to provoke your temper. This drove you to lose your patience and enforce strict discipline upon her. Just as you believed yourself to be a qualified villain, the heroine suddenly heard your inner thoughts. This rope binding is truly provocative. Why is the male protagonist still half an hour away? At this sluggish pace, I would have had more than enough time to mold the heroine to my liking. System, come out and show yourself. Have I not already completed the villainous plot arc as written in the book? Why am I still trapped here? The emotionless voice of the system echoed within your mind. Host, because during your previous attempt at playing the villain, you developed genuine feelings for the heroines, which resulted in the plot being judged a failure. Therefore, you must traverse this storyline once more. You originally thought playing the villain would be an effortless task, especially since this is a mindless, fast-paced cultivation novel. The plot could not be simpler, but only when you truly clashed with the male protagonist did you understand why the system insisted on finding someone to fill the role of the villain. It turns out the male protagonist of this book is nothing more than a simpleton, relying solely on his low-intelligence plot armor to cheat his way through. If you hadn't been holding back for him throughout this journey, you could have crushed him with a single finger. Fortunately, the scene before you is incredibly familiar. The woman bound by ropes like a trust parcel before you is named Su Niangshui, the Saintess of the Bixiao Palace and also your nominal fiancé. However, in the established lore of the book, the two of you share no affection, and this betrothal was merely the result of you leveraging the power of the Tianxing clan, forcibly compelling her to agree. Thus, from beginning to end, Su Niangshui has never even cast a glance in your direction. As you recall this segment of the plot, you remember seeing Su Niangshui exchanging flirtatious glances with the male protagonist, Zhang Jiadian, and in a fit of rage you decided to drug Su Niangshui, intending to force the union. The subsequent plot is predictable enough to guess with one's eyes closed. The male protagonist descends from the heavens to play the hero saving the damsel, and the heroine, having endured such an ordeal, loses her heart to him. Yet, as you gaze upon the woman on the bed, a surge of intense heat stirs within your heart. If I do not release my grip, by the time Zhang Yichen arrives, Su Niangshui will have already met her end. Su Niangshui, who was struggling desperately to break free, suddenly froze. This was because she saw a dialogue bubble manifest above your head. The words inscribed within it left her feeling both bewildered and mortified. However, the current predicament allowed her no room for deep thought. At this moment, you had already stood up and were walking toward her. She struggled with all her might, desperate to escape, but the immortal binding rope had tightly constricted her body. Moreover, the medicinal potency of the immortal drunkenness was still surging within her. After moving only a few times, she was drenched in sweat, her body slick and damp. Su Niangshui seemed to have foreseen her own fate. Two trails of tears rolled down her exquisite face. Watching the female lead weep with such delicate sorrow was a haunting sight. You could not help but fall into deep contemplation. Did this scene occur in your previous life? Furthermore, this young woman truly understood nothing of men. Had she merely lain there quietly, perhaps I would have felt nothing at all. But with her appearing to resist while actually inviting, what man could possibly endure this? That detestable male lead, why has he not arrived yet? If he does not appear soon, I shall truly be forced to act. Upon seeing the dialogue bubble above your head once more, Su Niangshui shuddered, her wide eyes filled with suspicion. Can this woman stop squirming around? Does she not realize that her current state is incredibly alluring? A look of astonishment washed over Su Niangshui's face. Instinctively, she looked down at her own posture. Only then did she realize that in her frantic struggle, she had failed to notice that her body was already fully exposed to your gaze. Though she remained clothed, the sweat had caused the fabric to cling tightly to her form. It was truly a temptation. What a pity, but I merely wished to continue living. To follow the plot to its end, you could only force yourself to turn away. You fought to keep your eyes from lingering on the provocative sight before you. Yet in the eyes of Su Niangshui, this action was deeply confusing. Is he not trying to humiliate me? And what exactly is that dialogue bubble above his head? Could it be the inner workings of his heart? Although Su Niangshui's heart was filled with suspicion, she still struggled to turn her body over. Though she ended up in a prone position, at the very least, she could observe your movements closely. However, when you heard the commotion behind you, you turned your head abruptly. Looking at Su Niangshui's writhing figure, you were momentarily unable to fathom what exactly this female lead was doing. With no other choice, you helplessly asked the system, "Is this really correct?" The pure and harmless voice of the system echoed in your mind. "That is correct, that is correct, there is absolutely no error." "Very well, but the male lead is arriving far too slowly." This time, Su Niangshui confirmed it beyond any doubt. Even though she could not hear who you were conversing with, she heard you speaking about some male lead. Honestly, if I were not required to follow the plot, this window of time would have been enough to leave the female lead with child, would it not? Seeing the speech bubble, Su Niangshui's eyes widened in shock. Although she did not know what a cream puff was, based on her current predicament, she felt certain it could not be anything favorable. She intended to open her mouth to scold you, this lecherous scoundrel, but found she could not utter a sound. Pausing for a moment, she attempted to speak again. "Xiaoling, would you be willing to release me?" After the sound escaped her lips, she was stunned herself. Why was she suddenly able to speak again? Hearing this, you turned back to look at the female lead, whose posture was disheveled from her struggles. She was lying face down on the bed. You reached out to lift her chin beneath Su Niangshue's bewildered gaze and helped her sit upright. Let me tell you this, you are my fiancée. In life you are mine, and in death you remain mine. Little sister, are you not exhausted from lying in that position? By using such a pose to tempt me, you make it truly difficult for me to restrain myself. As she heard your inner thoughts, Su Niangshue's mind began to race. So was he speaking with such domineering arrogance only to suppress his own discomfort? Yet it was true that an ordinary man would find it difficult to resist when faced with such a pose. Instinctively she looked the man before her up and down, before suddenly blurting out. The moment these words were uttered, an oppressive silence descended upon the room. Moments later, she observed the deafening, roaring turbulence of aura manifesting above your head. She was clearly issuing a provocation. Tanya Tuyet realized she had spoken out of turn, and her complexion flushed with visible embarrassment. Yet, being a young maiden who had yet to see much of the world, and having used such an insulting provocation, even if you originally had no ill intentions, it was unlikely that you would be able to restrain yourself any longer. Host, please remain calm. If you take her, the mission will be immediately marked as a failure, and you will never be able to return. Upon hearing this, you instantly halted your movements, though you still tilted Ton Nien Tuyet's chin upward, scrutinizing her features intently. She was indeed a beauty ranked highly on the character leaderboard. Her features were strikingly elegant and refined, though she hardly resembled a cold iceberg beauty at this moment. Rather, she looked more like a maiden acting coquettishly. What a pity. If only taking her didn't result in mission failure, I would have acted long ago, would I not? Although you could not serve justice upon her right here, such a provocation could not be left unpunished. System, while I cannot engage in a deep union, I can certainly employ some methods to provoke her, can I not? For instance, stealing her first kiss. You previously stated that if someone else loved me, the mission would fail, correct? Now that her first kiss has been stolen, there is absolutely no possibility that she will ever love me. Is that a valid logic? Indeed, it is feasible and permitted by the system. Without hesitation, you lowered your head and kissed her. Tanya Tuyet's eyes widened in immediate shock. She instinctively attempted to struggle, but she remained bound by the immortal binding rope, compounded by the effects of the immortal drunkenness elixir coursing through her veins, leaving her with no choice but to endure your audacity. Am I truly to be trampled upon here? She wondered. Just as this thought crossed her mind, you released her, wearing the triumphant smirk of a villain. You did not expect this, did you? The one who stole your first kiss is not Zhang Datran but me. Tanya Tuyet was momentarily stunned. She had braced herself for far more egregious actions, but it had ended there. Lying on the bed, Tanya Tuyet's gaze went vacant for a fleeting moment, followed by an overwhelming surge of boundless rage. You are truly tormenting me. She had only just managed to suppress the volatile energy surging within her with great difficulty. Your actions have stirred all of that turbulence once more, and with even greater intensity than before. The crux of the matter is that after planting that kiss, you simply brushed your hands clean and abandoned her to her fate. You absolute scoundrel, you lecherous wretch. Su Niangshui gritted her teeth, a desperate scream echoing in her heart. Can you not see this through to the very end? Just finish what you started and take full responsibility. Yet even in death, she would never dare to voice those words aloud. After all, a woman must preserve her dignity. Seeing the expression on Su Niangshue's face, you felt a surge of unbridled joy. The look she wears now suggests she would gladly devour me alive if she could. It is clear she has marked me as her mortal enemy. There is no doubt she will show no mercy when she eventually strikes. Thinking of this, the corner of your mouth curled upward, a smirk you could no longer suppress. You reached out, using your finger to lift Su Niangshue's chin, assuming the posture of a villain you deemed truly authentic. As your hands grazed over her in a symbolic gesture, you wore the expression of a depraved predator. This scent of yours, it is truly intoxicating, impossible to pull away from. Su Niangshue squeezed her eyes shut in panic. However, just as she braced herself for you to further humiliate her, you withdrew your hand. Su Niangshue felt as though she were on the verge of madness. Xiaolang, you wretched villain, you mused, determined to fit the persona of the antagonist perfectly. You casually wrapped your arm around Su Niangshue's slender waist. You may scream until your throat tears, but no one will come to your rescue. Yet this slight suggestive movement brought Su Niangshui close enough to bridge the distance between you. She let out a soft moan, her entire body going limp as she collapsed against your chest. System, why is this woman acting so strangely? Yes, indeed, she must simply be overcome with exhaustion. Very well, then I shall hold you for a moment longer. In truth, she felt remarkably soft. Although you were deeply suspicious of Su Nianshue's current state, you maintained your villainous persona, keeping your hand firmly around her waist. The sensation was exquisite. Deep inside, Sanche released a silent, frantic scream, for her chest was now pressed tightly against your body, and through the friction, she was finally able to temporarily stifle the lethal sensation that had been coursing through her body periodically. But a moment later, Su Nianshue suddenly realized what she was doing. Is this not exactly how those shameless women behave? This female lead hates me so much. With eyes full of both glare and tears, does she not wish to hack me into 1,000 pieces? Seeing the female lead both weeping and furious, you are overwhelmed with joy. Good, good, good. This is exactly how it should be. System, you have done well. Just at that moment, the chamber door was suddenly kicked open, and a man with sword-like brows and star-bright eyes appeared at the entrance. Very well, you have finally arrived. Do you have any idea how much effort I put into acting out this scene just now? I do not know what kind of sorcery has bewitched this woman Sunyang Xiaowei, but she keeps rubbing herself against me. Although it is presumably because she has been drugged, I vaguely recall that in the previous iteration of this plot, things clearly did not play out this way, and it carried an undeniable sense of gravity. Hearing this, Zhang Yichen leaned slightly, revealing the scene outside the door behind him. It was the group of subordinates you arranged earlier. However, they are all lying prone on the ground now. Was it necessary to be so ruthless? I did not think these lapdogs had mocked him all that much. Wait, what are you showing off? From the dialogue bubble hovering behind you, Sun Yangshe finally notices that Jiang Yichen has arrived at your side at some point. Have you truly spent all this effort just to peek at Sun Yangshe? If you intend to rescue her, just take her away, and you may gaze at her to your heart's content. Upon seeing this text, Sun Yanshe is stunned, only then realizing that Jiang Yichen is observing her with a lecherous gaze. Jiang Yichen finds what he believes to be a perfect position, then strolls forward leisurely, the corners of his mouth curling into a wicked, arrogant smirk. Who I am is of no importance. What matters is what you have done. A young master of the Tianxing family is nothing more than a mere ant. How embarrassing. Looking at the dialogue bubble above your head, Sun Yangzhue nods in agreement. It is indeed embarrassing. She is so embarrassed that her toes are curling enough to dig through the floorboards. Does this fellow know that I could easily kill him right now? Immediately after, a new dialogue bubble appears, leaving Sun Yanshui momentarily dazed. Because in her impression, you are merely a dissolute young master, relying on your family's influence to run rampant. Although Zhang Yiken's words are cringeworthy, through these days of contact, Zhang Yiken's natural talent should certainly be no weaker than her own. However, according to your inner thoughts, you could actually dispose of Zhang Yichen with ease. Sun Yangshui analyzes this seriously for a moment, but quickly offers a relieved smile. She assumes you are simply overestimating yourself in your own mind. If you truly possessed such strength, you would not be held in such contempt by everyone. Seeing the distance between you and Zhang Yichen closing, Sun Yanshui finds the sight increasingly revolting. Because she notices that Jiang Yichen's gaze is not focused on you at all, but is wandering incessantly over her own body. He silently mused to himself, after all, he was the child of destiny. If Sun Yanshui had not yet lost her purity, he might still have been able to grant her a position by his side. However, looking at the current situation, it was difficult to say that nothing had transpired. Forget it. Since matters have come to this, playing with this piece of trash is enough. Yet, he remained completely oblivious to the slight twitch at the corner of your eyes. Is this system truly functioning as intended? Zhang Yichen's character design has completely collapsed. Are these words even appropriate for him to speak? It is fine. It is fine. He spoke in a very low voice. Sun Yanshui surely could not have heard him. Sun Yangshui's expression became increasingly frigid. She was currently being tormented by the effects of the immortal intoxication, and her senses had long since been pushed to their absolute limit. How could she not hear the filth that Zhang Yichen was spouting? She heard every word clearly, but Zhang Yichen remained entirely unaware of the shift in Sun Yangshui's demeanor. In his eyes, this woman always wore this icy expression, so it seemed perfectly normal to him. Very good, she did not flee. On the contrary, is she approaching me instead? Zhang Yichen rubbed his fists and declared, "It seems my subordinates outside the door haven't taught you a proper lesson yet. As for you, a mere brat from who knows where," you retorted with a cold laugh and stepped forward to meet him. "Relying solely on this cultivation base of yours, do you truly believe you can withstand my attack? I must go easy when I strike later, otherwise I fear I might accidentally break this male protagonist." Under Sun Yangshui's watchful gaze, the two of you drew closer and you realized the moment was ripe. With a cold snort, you replied, "It seems you still do not realize exactly whom you have offended. Do you know the consequences of offending me? A cultivator acts against the heavens. My fate is my own, not heaven's, let alone a piece of trash like you." Zhang Yichen let out a thunderous roar, his gaze locking onto you as a golden light flashed in his eyes. You were now within his striking range, yet you appeared not to have noticed it at all. Although there was a disparity between your cultivation levels, he possessed a secret technique that could unleash a burst of power in a short time. As long as the sneak attack succeeded, it was not impossible for him to retreat safely. In an instant, Zhang Yichen unleashed a punch with every ounce of his strength, his fist shrouded in violent surging chi. It struck your chest squarely, yet nothing happened. Sun Yangshui stared in bewilderment at the inner thoughts screaming above your head. "It is over. I completely forgot this brat possesses a skill that increases his attack range." The entire room felt as though it had been paused, the very air stagnating, leaving even Sun Yangshui momentarily stunned. That strike from Zhang Yichen carried the power to shatter mountains and cleave rocks. It was clear he had held nothing back. How could a mere pampered young master withstand such a blow so easily? But before Sun Yangshui could ponder further, she witnessed a sight on the stage that was truly an eyesore. You stood dazed for a moment, then your entire body flew backward in an incredibly theatrical display, smashing through various furnishings within the room, before collapsing to the ground, clutching your chest, letting out a shrill, miserable wail. You actually concealed a hidden weapon. How truly cowardly. With those words, your head lolled to the side, foam bubbled from your mouth, and you promptly fell unconscious. What could be the meaning of this? Could it be that I have become stronger? Zhang Yichen quickly dismissed the thought, reasoning that you were, after all, nothing more than a pampered young master. It was likely you possessed some hidden treasure to mitigate damage. But unfortunately, in the face of absolute strength, These unorthodox tricks could not withstand a single blow. Contemplating this, Zhang Yichen could not help but reveal a smile he deemed quite handsome, looking down at your feigned death with a gaze of cold superiority. A trash remains trash. No matter how you struggle, you cannot escape the fate of being crushed by the strong. Meanwhile, Sun Yanshui stared at Zhang Yichen, her eyes wide, as if looking at a complete fool. How could he fail to realize that his opponent's acting was so transparently fake? At the same time, Sun Yanshui looked at you, still feigning unconsciousness, her expression growing increasingly complex. It turns out you were not lying after all. What on earth are you planning? Just as Sun Yangshuo struggled to comprehend the situation, the grand doors were kicked open once again. The intruders were disciples of the Bixao Palace. Seeing Sun Yanshu in such a disheveled state, their complexions turned pale instantly. They noticed the ropes binding Sun Yangshui and, without a word, prepared to draw their swords to sever them. What a bunch of fools. This is the heaven-binding cord. Do you truly believe it is something you can undo so casually? Hidden within your sleeves, your hands moved silently to form a seal. Immediately, the immortal binding chain wrapped around Sun Yanshui fell away on its own. The female disciple holding the sword was left standing there in utter bewilderment. Instinctively, she glanced towards Sun Yangshui, only to find her staring intently at something behind them. Could you hurry it up? Lying here is incredibly uncomfortable, can't you see that? See what? The female disciple looked around, completely unable to grasp what Sun Yangshui was trying to convey. Sun Yang pondered for a moment. It seemed these speech bubbles were visible only to her. Her gaze shifted instinctively toward Zhang Yichen. Seeing Sun Yanshui look his way, the corners of Zhang Yichen's mouth curled into an arrogant, wicked smirk. Holy maiden, there is no need for such formalities. This is merely my duty. Having said that, he barked loudly at the group of female disciples. That man has captured your holy maiden. He harbors vile intentions toward her. Why haven't you seized him yet? The disciples of the Bixao Palace frowned in unison, finding Zhang Yichen's overbearing, dictatorial attitude truly repulsive. Yet, because this concerned the reputation of their holy maiden, they moved toward you, saying this matter may be the result of a misunderstanding. A disciple looked at you, lying there on the ground, then looked at Zhang Yichen, who was still gesticulating wildly. Suddenly, a shocking thought flashed through her mind. She pointed at Zhang Yichen and exclaimed, "Is it not you who injured the holy maiden's companion? And while harboring evil designs on the holy maiden yourself, are you now playing the thief, crying 'Stop, thief,' the moment we arrived?" As these words left her lips, even you, the instigator, could not help but applaud the disciple's vivid imagination. Young lady, your imagination is impressive, however, based on the unfolding events, your assessment is not far from the truth. After all, according to the typical progression of such schemes, this Zhang Yichen would surely use some excuse about detoxification to lay his hands on Sun Yanshui. Watching the speech bubble hovering above you, Sun Yanshui's disgust toward Zhang Yichen grew even deeper. Seeing that Sun Yangshui did not offer a defense, the disciples naturally interpreted the situation exactly as the girl had suggested. Zhang Yichen could no longer restrain himself. He hurriedly began to defend his actions. It was clearly your holy maiden who sent a sound transmission. Seeing this, Tan Yintuyet hurriedly shook her head. I clearly sent a sound transmission to my master. How could it have reached you? Your father saw that Jiang Xiaoqin possessed extraordinary talent, so he took the liberty of stopping your master, and allowed Jiang Xiaoqin to come here to rescue you instead. System, are you certain that the plot has not changed? Logically speaking, Tan Yintuyet's master should not have notified her disciples to come here. That is correct, indeed. In the novel you read previously, the plot dictated that Jiang Xiaoqin did not arrive late, which is why they did not encounter one another. Hearing the system's reply, the heart that had been pounding in your chest finally settled. However, Tan Yintuyet's words left the gathered disciples filled with doubt. It was not until they looked closely at you lying on the ground that they finally reacted. Is this not young Master Xiao of the Tianxing family? The Saintess's fiancé? This matter, I fear there has been some misunderstanding. Tan Yintuyet spoke up. I intended to come and discuss the marriage arrangement with Xiao Ling. Speaking of this, Tan Yintuyet blushed. In this life, she had never once lied, but to uncover the secret of the mysterious bubble frame above your head, she was forced to temporarily keep you by her side. Yet in the eyes of others, the meaning of this blush was entirely different. Meanwhile, Jiang Xiaoqin, who should have followed the script to save her and earn Tan Yintuyet's favor, displayed an expression of utter disbelief. Has she been threatened by him? Speak a word, Master Jiang. I do not know if you have misunderstood something, but this matter is not as simple as you think. Thereafter, Tan Yintuyet turned cold and spoke to those beside her. Let us go, I have other matters to attend to. After all, the residual medicinal power of the immortal drunkenness remained within her body, and she had to return to the sect quickly to detoxify. The outer disciples had already prepared a flying ship for Tan Yintuyet. No sooner had she stepped onto the deck than she saw Jiang Xiaoqin chasing after her. Yintuyet, please listen to my explanation. At this moment, a female disciple drew her sword to block Jiang Xiaoqin's path, shouting sternly, Master Jiang, are you aware of what you are doing? I truly only wish to help you all. Tan Yintuyet's expression remained as cold and aloof as falling snow. Master Zhang, I do not know what designs my father had in sending you to assist us. Nian Tuyet is immensely grateful, but currently my body is extremely unwell, so please do not persist in following me. At this moment, with every passing second, Tan Nian Tuyet felt the power of the immortal drunkenness encroaching upon her sanity, while the information contained within the bubble above your head uncontrollably surfaced in her mind. Could it be that this Jiang Xiaoqin knew from the very beginning that she had been poisoned, and therefore intentionally delayed his arrival, waiting for the medicinal power to take effect while her mind was no longer clear? You merely pretended to swoop in and play the hero, only to seize the opportunity to take advantage of her. Su Niangshua's gaze grew even colder. The more she pondered it, the more plausible it seemed, so she flicked her sleeve. The flying ship's defensive formation instantly sealed Jiang Jiaoqin out. It then slowly ascended into the sky, eventually transforming into a streak of light that vanished beyond the horizon, leaving Jiang Jiaoqin standing there completely bewildered. He muttered to himself, but she was clearly poisoned. Suddenly he slapped his forehead, realization dawning upon him. Xiaolang is, after all, a descendant of the Tianxing family. Having offended him today, Niang Shui must be intentionally acting cold to avoid dragging me into this mess. Niangshu, there will come a day when I make the entire world look at me with new eyes. When that time comes, I will return to claim you in a manner befitting my status. Inside the cabin, having heard Zhang Zhaokin's heroic declaration, you could no longer contain yourself. System, how is the plot progression? Host, you are truly magnificent. Please continue to maintain this momentum. It had better be, you pouted. Do not come crying to me later if the plot veers off course and requires a redo. If that happens, I shall flip the table myself. Rest assured, host, such a situation will absolutely not come to pass. Reassured by the system's guarantee, you nodded in satisfaction. Once you confirmed that Jiang Jiaoqin had departed, you slowly stood up as the jade pendant at your chest began to vibrate. A cold, familiar voice rang out from within. You brat, come here and meet me at once. Before you could even respond, the other party decisively severed the connection. Indeed, this person was none other than your master Luo Chang, the sect master of the Xuanyue Immortal Sect. Time to go meet my beautiful master. You casually pulled 2 bronze horse figurines from your storage bag and tossed them into the air. Upon hitting the ground, they transformed into 2 magnificent flame-maned war steeds. You rode them smoothly into the Xuanyue Immortal Sect. Enter. Luo Chang's voice drifted from within the room. Deep inside, a peerless beauty sat upright on a meditation cushion, her eyes closed in cultivation. You took only a few steps before an overwhelming pressure descended upon you. You instinctively let out a practiced, miserable cry. You struggled to inch your way forward. Master, your aura is far too powerful. Your disciple cannot endure it. Just as Luo Chang was troubled by the fact that your cultivation base had not progressed for so many years, she suddenly noticed a thought bubble appearing above your head. My acting as a talentless good-for-nothing isn't half bad, is it? Master surely wouldn't expect this. Luo Chang stared intently at the text bubble hovering above your head. What kind of cultivation technique is this boy practicing? Furthermore, such thoughts are clearly not meant to be spoken aloud to me. Considering this, Luo Chang quietly intensified the pressure of her aura. You continued to cry out and moan, yet your expression remained entirely unchanged. Luo Chang could not help but widen her eyes, for if she increased the pressure any further, she would have to exert her core strength, no longer relying on mere aura alone. Thinking this, Luo Chang decisively withdrew her aura. Come here. You overacted so much that your bones were cracking. You then walked over to Luo Chang, panting with every step. I believe my acting is truly superb. Master certainly cannot see through it. Luo Chang originally intended to scold you, saying that she could see right through it, but she reconsidered, realizing that if not for the bubble above your head, she would never have discovered how deceptive your acting truly was. Realizing this, Luo Chang's face flushed slightly. You ran up to your master and skillfully began to brew tea. Seeing your practiced movements, Luo Chang could not help but fall into a trance. She and your mother were once close sisters, and when the Xuanyue Immortal Sect was invaded by the Demon Clan all those years ago, your mother resolutely led the family to provide reinforcements. Although they eventually drove back the demons, your mother suffered severe injuries from which she never recovered, passing away not long after. This was why Luo Chang had always desired to help you increase your strength rapidly. However, you were unfortunately a shiftless good-for-nothing, paying no heed to your master's words, yet now, in Luo Chang's eyes, you were clearly hiding your true capabilities. Master, did you summon me for something? A standard, polite smile appeared on your face, while inwardly you were sighing incessantly, knowing that your master— What a pity, for the world is truly unjust. Seeing this, Luo Chang could not help but be stunned. It was a shame that according to the plot, his beautiful master would be sabotaged by Jiang Tiaoqin's rival. Her cultivation would plummet, reducing her to an ordinary person. Therefore, to serve the development of the plot, the master was forced to be conspired against, leading to a decline in her cultivation base. Seeing the bubbles above your head filled with information regarding your future, Luo Chang could not help but take a few more glances. Let me think, how does the next part of the plot unfold? It seems to involve a request to unseal some kind of divine artifact. Master, why are you staring at me without saying a word? Please, tell me. You scoundrel. Luo Chang took a deep breath, feeling a lump in his throat. These bubbles above your head were likely revealed to me by the assistance of some peerless expert. If I were to speak of them directly, it would surely invite unnecessary trouble. Thinking of this, Luo Chang softened his voice and said, I summoned you here for no grave matter. Boy, is it true that you have abducted the Saintess of the Bixia Palace? You nervously rubbed your hands together, as it had been a long time since you acted out a scene with your master. After a moment of thought, your eyes immediately brimmed with tears. Master, you must uphold justice for me. As you spoke, you lunged across the table, grabbed Luo Chang's sleeve and blew your nose into it. Luo Cheng watched your behavior, veins immediately throbbing in his forehead. With a flick of his sleeve, he cast you back to your seat. A fine performance indeed to play the villain yet act the victim. It is clear that you are the one who abducted her. Yet you still demand that I uphold justice for you. She is my fiancée. To see her exchanging glances with another man, how could I possibly accept such a thing? You wailed and rolled on the ground, crying, I don't care, I want my wife. This character setting is truly naive. To be honest, if my wife were my master, how wonderful that would be. Luo Chang saw the bubble above your head and was struck dumb. Her complexion instantly flushed a deep crimson. I have treated you as my own disciple, and yet this boy harbors such improper intentions toward me. My master is so wonderful, so fragrant and gentle. With these jade-like feet clad in black silk stockings, I wonder how many men would be captivated. Though she did not know what black silk stockings were, Luo Chang felt as if her head were about to burst into flames. In all the years since she reached the supreme realm, never had anyone dared to speak such blasphemous words to her. However, the offender before her was the child of an old acquaintance, leaving her at a loss for a proper course of action. With a throbbing headache, she could only say to you, rise to your feet first and we shall speak properly. You suddenly sprang up from the ground, looking at Luo Chang with shock and uncertainty. Who are you? Where have you hidden my master? According to the usual routine, shouldn't my master have confined me to solitary detention by now? She is being far too gentle, it is truly terrifying. Seeing these thoughts manifesting, Luo Chang was so incensed she began to laugh. Thus you shouted and lunged toward Luo Chang, demoness, come here and return my master. The next moment, a single palm strike sent you sprawling onto the ground. As expected of master, her hands are truly soft. Wait, what is this? You gazed toward a dark corner in the distance, where an object sat that looked somewhat familiar to you. You saw the words amethyst sulfur inscribed upon the oval object, and immediately you felt a wave of dizziness wash over your mind. You abruptly raised your head to survey your surroundings. In the vacant room, there was only you and your master was sitting elegantly at the tea table, sipping her tea. You rubbed your head, feeling that something was not quite right. Master, I believe I just saw something glimmering on the floor. Luo Chang, having had her secret discovered, did not even lift an eyelid as she replied coldly, you saw wrong. Yes, master, you are right. It must have been my eyes playing tricks on me. But before the words could fully escape your lips, they were stifled by her icy gaze. Could it be that my vision is truly failing me? But how could my master, with her cold and aloof demeanor, possibly possess such a bashful trinket? It must certainly be an illusion. Yet, come to think of it, master's figure is truly well endowed. Moreover, to be so unrestrained, placing it directly upon the table like that, was she not afraid of being seen by others? Perhaps the fatigue of her cultivation had become too great, requiring a moment of relaxation? Luo Chang had intended to maintain her composure, but upon reading your inner thoughts, she could no longer maintain that detached and serene demeanor. Furthermore, what was it that she had placed upon the table? It was only when she instinctively lowered her head to look that she realized, in her attempt to hide her previous embarrassment, she had leaned forward slightly, and her full curves were pressing against the tea table without reservation. At that moment, Luo felt a surge of hot blood rush straight to her head, her entire face flushing crimson in an instant. She hurriedly used her hand to cover herself while feigning calm to change the subject. Your marriage to Sun Nianshu is fast approaching. Do you realize the consequences that your actions will bring? You are naturally aware that this would invite the hatred of Sun Nianshui, but as a villain who is both handsome and charming, you must remain devoted and deeply infatuated, only to be ruthlessly struck down by the child of fortune, becoming a mere stepping stone on the protagonist's path to greatness. Thinking of this, your emotions surged to their peak. Suddenly you looked up, eyes burning with a flame, wearing an expression of immense grievance. Master, a man of such peerless quality as I can have any woman he desires, why must you insist on tying me to her? I am unwilling to accept this, does she even know? She had rejected the love of the heir to the Tianxing clan, and at the same time, lines of inner monologue appeared above your head in bubbles. Such shameful dialogue has truly become something I can pick up and use with ease now. Seeing the veins on Luo Chang's forehead throbbing repeatedly, she was suddenly overcome with the urge to strike you dead with a single blow, but remembering the details you had just mentioned, she could not help but patiently attempt to persuade you. I know that perhaps you have your own hidden suffering. She stood up, gently patted your shoulder, and said with great, one must learn how to cherish her, rather than forcing her to perform acts against her will. Who could have expected that a master who usually appears so cold-hearted would possess such a tender inner spirit? Oh, woman, do you even realize that I have already fallen for you? But I must continue to play my part. Were it not for the need to keep these secrets, I would truly wish to dispatch Yang Yishan once and for all. Observing the bubbles manifesting above your head, Luochang could not help but knit her brows tightly. With your status and position, is there truly anything left in this world that could pose a threat to you? Could it be that behind these visions lies an even more earth-shattering conspiracy? Yet as there is currently no intelligence to rely upon, one cannot afford to act rashly. Seeing your master's furrowed brows, you assumed she felt you had committed a transgression, and you could not help but feel a flicker of apprehension in your heart. Then you heard Luochang release a soft sigh. From this day forth, you are to remain composed and stay out of trouble. As for the matters regarding the Bixiao Palace, I shall arrange them on your behalf. Having spoken, she gave a casual wave of her hand, signifying that you were permitted to leave. Feigning excitement, you leaped up, eager to embrace your master in a grand gesture of gratitude, only to be pushed away by Luo Chang, who cast you aside with a look of utter disdain. Once you had departed, Luo Chang recalled every piece of information revealed within your inner thoughts, and moments later she produced a jade tablet to summon her subordinates. Investigate the origins of the divine artifact discovered by the Wanshou sect. Furthermore, determine if they have been in contact with any suspicious individuals. Finally, conduct a thorough investigation into Jiang Yichen, who has recently risen to such prominence. At the same time, within the inner chambers of the Bixiao Palace Saintess, Sun Yanshui lay on her bed, tossing and turning in frustration. Although the immortal drunkenness poison in her body had been neutralized with her master's aid, it was, after all, a top-tier concoction of a noble family. While the medicinal potency had dissipated, the toll taken on her body could not be erased instantly and required daily nourishment to recover. Reflecting upon her predicament, your detestable face appeared in her mind, alongside that even more detestable bubble floating above your head. She grabbed a bolster pillow and pummeled it violently, as if it were you herself. After venting her frustrations, Sun Yangshui began to recall the information contained within the bubbles above you. Ever since you accurately predicted Jiang Yichen's actions, she no longer doubted the veracity of those visions. Yet, according to your words, was the world she inhabited merely a script from a work of fiction? Could it be that her fate was truly already written in stone? Thinking of this, Sun Yangshui could not help but shiver, yet she sensed one thing had changed. Had you not issued your warning, she would never have perceived the wolfish ambitions harbored by Jiang Yichen. Now, not only had she witnessed the vile nature of Jiang Yichen, but she had heard his repulsive words with her own ears. How could she possibly harbor any affection for such a man as Jiang Yichen? Sun Yanshui clutched the trinket tightly and gritted her teeth, declaring, "I, Sun Yanshui, swear that I absolutely under no circumstances could ever love Jiang Yichen." Yet no sooner had she spoken than your face flickered into her mind. Thinking of everything you had done to her, a blush of shame could not help but creep across her cheeks. Of course, I certainly won't like you either. Xiao Lung, you scoundrel. You arrived at the entrance of the Bixiao Palace and paused for a moment to collect your thoughts. According to the original plot, you were here today to apologize for the previous abduction of Sun Yangshui. However, your true objective was to incite such rage in Sun Yanshui that she would be driven to the brink of madness, thereby luring out the protagonist of Fortune, Jiang Yichen, so that he might soundly defeat you in battle. Thanks to the cultivation rewards granted by the system after completing the previous mission, you had already broken through from the Jindan stage to the Great Perfection realm. Yet you still had to play along with the charade alongside Jiang Yichen and deliberately walk into a beating. Thinking of this, you could not help but feel a headache coming on. Nevertheless, just as you prepared to speak, two phantom-like figures appeared behind you. Your guard stepped forward, each carrying a bouquet of fresh flowers and a shimmering storage ring. Young Master, these are the items required for the apology. Young Master, this is the script for the apology we have prepared for you. Another guard held up a piece of paper upon which were written dense lines of flowery, sycophantic words of affection. You took the paper and scanned it slowly, wondering if these two guards had suffered some sort of misunderstanding. You only wanted to go through the motions to provoke a confrontation and be humiliated. You had no actual intention of apologizing. Yet, before you could even open your mouth to intervene, the gates of the Bixiao Palace slowly creaked open, revealing your fiancée, Sun Yanshui, standing before you. Perhaps because you had used the immortal drunkenness toxin on her yesterday, her complexion remained flushed, though upon seeing the flowers and the ring in your hands, her expression turned exceedingly peculiar. What are you doing? The two guards beside you obsequiously thrust the gifts forward, Miss Su. This is a token of our young master's sincerity. Sun Yangzhou instinctively wanted to refuse, but as her eyes fell upon the storage ring, she couldn't help but pause. She cast her divine sense inside and discovered that it contained cultivation resource stacked like a mountain. Although she desperately wanted to accept them, her reason commanded her not to. You must absolutely not accept them, though a hint of regret laced your tone of refusal. Seeing Sun Yanshui's reaction, you exhaled a long, slow sigh of relief. Thank heavens, that was a close one. Sun Yangshui's disposition is one of haughty pride. Had she actually accepted these gifts, I truly would not have known how to proceed. Seeing your inner thoughts manifest above your head, Sun Yangshui could not help but arch an eyebrow. Because according to the plot, she is supposed to throw these items in my face, and then berate me relentlessly. Only then would Jiang Zichen emerge to back her up. Hearing your inner voice, Sun Yanshu could not help but turn her head slightly, and amidst the crowd gathered to spectate the commotion behind her, she indeed caught sight of Jiang Yichen's figure. In her heart, she could not help but once again confirm the authenticity of your inner thought bubbles. Sun Yangshui's expression immediately became complex. She truly could not accept these offerings. But if she were to throw them in your face, she felt as if she would be rewarding you instead. Thinking of this, Sun Yanshui let out a sigh and returned the gifts to the guard. Since I have not yet married into your family, I cannot accept these tokens. This woman is acting strangely. Since when did she become so gentle? Observing your assessment of her, Sun Yangshui's chest heaved violently for a moment. If you do not slam these things into my face and humiliate me thoroughly, how can your noble and resolute character be displayed? How else can you make that person see your true heart? Your inner thought bubble manifested once more. Sun Yanshui's eyes widened, and suddenly you bellowed fiercely. Sun Yanshui, who do you think you are? You are merely my fiancé. How dare you refuse my gifts? Having said that, you forcefully shoved the pile of offerings into Sun Yangshui's arms. and casually produced even more treasures of heaven and earth. By the time Sun Yanshui regained her composure, she was covered from head to toe in various precious artifacts. You look down at her from your superior vantage point. Is the esteemed Fairy Su so startled that she has been rendered senseless? For you, these items are surely treasures you would not even dare to dream of, are they not? Sun Shui stood there holding a small bell gripped by utter astonishment. It was clearly the legendary Dao artifact, the Xuanwang bell, while every other treasure adorning her person was enough. Just as Sun Yanshui was lost in her thoughts, Zhang Yuchen suddenly leaped out from the crowd. Xiaoling, do you think you can humiliate Nian Shui just because you rely on the power of the Xiao family? Every word from Zhang Yichen dripped with righteous indignation. However, glancing at Sun Yashui, who was adorned with so many dazzling treasures that it was hard to look at, one could only be rendered speechless. If having such a wealth of heavenly treasures bestowed upon you is considered a humiliation, then surely every woman in this world would pray to be humiliated in such a manner. Seeing Zhang Yichen appear, you were overjoyed. He had finally arrived, for if he hadn't, you would have struggled to keep up this charade much longer. Zhang Yichen, we have yet to settle the score for the injuries you inflicted upon me yesterday, and today you dare to deliver yourself to my doorstep. With those words, you signaled to the guards beside you. You intended to stand by quietly and watch him get beaten, then wait for Sun Yanshui to intervene, which would be followed by your supposed indignation and a counterattack, and conveniently you would be beaten to a pulp in the ensuing chaos. According to the original script, Sun Yanshui should have been so distressed by Zhang Yichen's plight that she would have moved to protect him. However, you waited in vain. Sun Yanshui made no move, standing there in total silence. What is wrong with this woman? Why has she not yet intervened? Could it be that the sheer volume of gifts I bestowed upon her has left her dazed? Your inner thoughts manifested as bubbles floating before Sun Yangshui's eyes. She gazed at these bubbles, feeling only a profound sense of speechlessness. She had finally seen through the true face of Zhang Yichen and therefore had no interest in concerning herself with his fate. Furthermore, that man was still attempting to use her to harm you. Looking at the inner thoughts hovering above your head, a strange idea suddenly took root in her heart. If I choose not to follow the script, how will you react? On the other side, Zhang Yichen was being beaten back by your guards, casting desperate, pleading glances towards Sun Yanshui. He begged for salvation, yet Sun Yanshui remained indifferent. Seeing Zhang Yichen covered in wounds, you grew increasingly anxious. This is not right. The script is completely wrong. Why has Sun Yangshui not yet moved to stop me? I must find a way to compel Sun Yangshui to take action. You waved your hand, ordering the guards to cease their assault, and looked down upon Zhang Yichen with disdain. However, this young master can grant you one final opportunity. As long as you kneel and kowtow to admit your wrongdoings, and swear that from this day forth you will never harass Sun Yangshu again, I will spare your life. As these words left your lips, everyone present was stunned by your sheer arrogance. Zhang Yukin, meanwhile, trembled with fury, his eyes filled with humiliation and resentment. As he gritted his teeth and hissed, do not dream of it. Since it has come to this, then go to your death. You raised your hand, condensing a surge of spiritual energy, intending to strike directly at the crown of Zhang Yukin's head. In your heart, you gloated. You had no intention of actually landing the blow, you merely wanted to frighten him. You aimed to force Sun Yangshui to intervene, and in the critical moment just before your palm descended, Sun Yangshui finally spoke up. Wait, you immediately retracted your hand and spun around, feigning a look of righteous indignation on your face. You dare to oppose me for the sake of this trash? However, before Sun Yanshui could utter another word, you rudely interrupted her. So you truly still harbor feelings for this useless wretch. With that, you raised your hand once more, ready to strike, but at that precarious instant, Zhang Yukin retaliated. In the blink of an eye, you were sent flying backward, finally allowing this segment of the script to play out smoothly. The next scene required Sun Yangshui to comfort Zhang Yushin, allowing their affections to blossom, and to make the ruse more convincing, you deliberately remained on the ground, spitting out mouthfuls of blood for several agonizing seconds. Yet your personal guards, seeing you wounded, attempted to strike at Zhang Yushin once more. At that exact moment, a thunderous roar echoed from the sky. It was Sun Yangshui's father, Su Xingyuan. With a single glance, he instantly struck down both of your guards, leaving them severely wounded. You remained sprawled on the ground, blood still spilling from your mouth. This was the quintessential villain getting face-slapped scenario, to be lectured and humiliated by the heroine's elder and then forced to slink away in defeat. It was perfect. You suppressed the intense pain racking your body. You gazed up at Su Jingwen, who hovered above, your eyes filled with a calculated display of reluctance. But Sun Yangshui, hearing your inner thoughts, could only be left speechless. Clearly, despite being beaten so miserably, you were somehow finding enjoyment in it. Furthermore, your father could not possibly have failed to see the value of the treasures you gifted. Yet, he still chose to stand on the side of Zhang Yichen. This proves that your father must be aware of Zhang Yichen's true identity. Sun Yangshui suddenly realized, with growing horror, that she was merely a tool used by her father to achieve a specific agenda. Just as Sun Yanshui was nursing her heartache in silence, Su Xingyuan sighed softly. Niangshu, are you all right? Sun Yanshui nodded, but Su Xingyuan's gaze had already shifted towards Zhang Yichen, a flicker of approval flashing in his eyes. Young man, you are quite impressive. Upon hearing this, a look of wild exhilaration instantly surfaced on Zhang Yichen's face. Many thanks for the praise, senior. This junior will certainly not fail to meet your expectations. Su Xingyuan nodded slightly before turning his gaze toward you, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes. Boy of the Xiao family, in deference to the generations of friendship between our two houses, I will not hold you accountable today, but if you dare to disturb Niangshu again, do not blame me for being discourteous. With a flick of his hand, a surge of powerful energy instantly engulfed you. You were jolted by the sheer pressure bearing down upon you. Does this old man intend to suppress me to death right here? He has lost his mind. Your aura flared instinctively, desperate to resist the pressure, but in the next moment, a woman descended from the sky. Su Xingyuan, do you wish to lay a hand on the son of my old friend Luo Chang? Have you even asked for my permission? Su Xingyuan's expression shifted between shades of pale and green. Fairy Luo Chang, you have witnessed everything Xiaolong has done here today. He has humiliated my daughter so thoroughly. How can you expect me to sit idly by while he insults your daughter? The treasures upon her person, every single one, is worth a fortune. This so-called humiliation of yours is something many people would desperately covet but never obtain. Su Xingyuan froze, momentarily at a loss for a rebuttal. Luo Chang then glanced at Zhang Yichen, a flicker of disgust crossing her eyes. After a day of investigation, she discovered that this Zhang Yichen indeed harbored malicious intent. After a moment of silence, she slowly turned to look at Su Xingyuan. Sect Master Su, it would be better to have Xiao Lang and Zhang Yichen confront each other directly, so that the truth of this matter may finally be brought to light. Su Xingyuan's somber face twisted into a forced smile. Fairy Luo Chang is absolutely correct. Guards, bring Xiao Lang to the inner courtyard. At this moment, a beautiful woman dressed in elegant robes had been waiting for some time. This person was none other than Sun Nianshuo's mother. Shen Wanyi, you felt a hidden sense of regret in your heart. What a pity, such a virtuous woman, to be trampled upon by this wretch, Su Xingyuan. What is more infuriating is that in your past life, this scoundrel, Zhang Yichen, even harbored wicked intentions towards Sun Nianshuo's mother. Your inner thoughts manifested one by one before Shen Wanyi's eyes. Shen Wanyi was startled at first, then realized that your lips had not moved at all. What is that floating above Xiao Ling's head? It seems that only I can see it. The others appeared to see nothing at all. A moment later, Su Xingyuan's group had fully assembled. Zhang Yichen, you have repeatedly claimed that Xiao Ling drugged Niangshu and kidnapped her. Do you have any proof? Reporting to the sect master, I have concrete evidence in my possession. Jiang Yichen then retrieved several documents from his storage ring. Su Xingyuan received the papers with a grim expression, for written upon them were Sun Nianshuo's recent itinerary and the diagnosis from the physician, all of which proved that the timing and symptoms of Sun Nianshuo's poisoning occurred just yesterday. Zhang Yichen spoke up again. This evidence is beyond doubt and is sufficient to prove Xiao Ling's guilt. It was not me, I had not drugged Nianshu, nor did I kidnap her. It is Zhang Yichen who is framing me. However, at this moment, the two women who saw the text bubbles above your head wore peculiar expressions. This fellow clearly knew that Zhang Yichen had evidence. Why would he willingly step into this den of tigers? Just as everyone was filled with suspicion, Jiang Yichen produced even more items, a fifle of aphrodisiac and a letter you supposedly wrote to Su Niangshui. Su Xingyuan took them to inspect, his complexion turning deathly pale. Xiao Ling, what else do you have to say for yourself? Wait. Sun Niangshu spoke up suddenly. Father, I feel that this matter is rather strange. Zhang Yichen is merely an ordinary intersect disciple. How could he know the details of my itinerary and my medical records so thoroughly? Sun Nianshu's words left everyone present stunned. Upon hearing this, Shen Wanyi also reacted, her gaze turning toward Zhang Yichen with deep suspicion. Zhang Yichen, you had best provide a clear explanation. Otherwise, do not blame this sect master for showing you no mercy. Why is this woman not following the script? This devious snake, do not hinder me from completing my task. Zhang Xiaoqin's expression shifted instantly as he stammered, Niangshuo, I am merely concerned for you. Hearing this, you could not help but curse Zhang Xiaoten soundly within your heart. The three women caught sight of the dialogue bubble appearing above your head, and the corners of their mouths could not help but twitch. Seeing that the plot was on the verge of collapse, you were forced to offer a silent reminder. Damn it. Little cutie, do you truly think you can converse with Niangshuo's parents at any time like I can? Su Xingyuan did not reply immediately upon hearing this, falling instead into deep contemplation. He then looked toward you and said, This matter I have indeed investigated in secret. Furthermore, my daughter, have you forgotten? You once sent a sound transmission to your master. Everything has finally aligned. What is the status of the plot system currently? Boss, the plot remains precise to the letter, you thought, a subtle smirk playing on your lips. Thankfully, my reaction was swift enough. At this moment, seeing that your guilt was seemingly confirmed, Zhang Xiaoten was instantly overcome with wild delight. He stepped before Su Xingyuan and spoke respectfully, Sect Master, if this vile conduct of Xiao Ling were to spread, it would not only tarnish the reputation of senior sister Su, but would also severely impact the prestige of our two great sects. In this disciple's humble opinion, it would be best to annul the marriage contract between them immediately and draw a clear line. Just as Xingyuan prepared to respond, Nianshua suddenly spoke up to intervene. Father, if this matter were to be made public, would my own reputation not be utterly ruined? How could I ever hold my head high in the cultivation world again? Xiao Ling has already apologized. I am willing to grant him an opportunity to prove himself. Xiao Ling must provide sufficient sincerity so that I may witness his resolve. Otherwise, the engagement shall still be annulled. As soon as Sun Yanshui finished speaking, the entire hall erupted in murmurs. You stared at Sun Yanshui with widened eyes. Had this woman lost her mind? Such a perfect opportunity to break off the engagement, yet she refuses to seize it. Could she actually have feelings for me? Su Niangshui watched as the bubbles appeared above your head, a faint, knowing smile playing on her lips. You wish to cast this lady aside? It will not be that simple. What do you mean by sincerity? I have not yet decided, daughter. However, for him to demonstrate his sincerity, let us leave him here at the Bigxiao Palace. It will be convenient for my daughter to look after him. Su Xingyuan spoke in a low, stern voice. Nianshui, this must not happen under any circumstances. Xiao Ling is an outsider after all. If word gets out that he is staying here, it will surely invite unwanted gossip. Who says Xiao Ling is an outsider? He is my fiancé. Furthermore, he is currently severely wounded. As his betrothed, I am merely tending to his recovery. Who has the right to interfere? Su Xingyuan frowned deeply. Seeing Su Nianshui's resolve, then glancing at Luo Chang, who was watching from the sidelines, he began to weigh the implications in his mind. Within a guest chamber of the Bigxiao Palace, you wondered, is this system functioning correctly? Indeed, the plot is following the original sequence without the slightest deviation. You scratched your head, beginning to doubt if your memories of your past life had become corrupted, but since the system insisted there were no issues, you had no choice but to set your doubts aside for the time being. At that very moment, the door was pushed open. Su Niangshui walked slowly toward you, leaned in, and whispered directly into your ear. Didn't you say you wanted to apologize to me? Then let me see just how sincere you truly are. Her voice seemed to carry a strange enchantment, causing your heart to beat uncontrollably faster. You cannot be serious? Are you really trying to stir up trouble in such a situation? Observing your inner thoughts, Su Niangshui became flustered with indignation. Xiaoling, what kind of chaotic nonsense is running through your mind? She instinctively reached out to pinch your cheek, but remembering that her mother, Shen Wanyi, was watching from behind, she retracted her hand immediately. Forget it, you kept insisting you wanted to apologize and prove your sincerity, didn't you? Very well, from now on, you shall become my personal attendant and serve me day and night. Upon hearing this, your eyes widened in shock. Serving day and night, I never imagined that the usually icy Su Niangshui would be so different in private. But if my memory serves me correctly, she only became so cold. Because that old man Su Xingyuan has shown no concern for her and her mother at all. He has treated them with total indifference. Su Niangshui only suppressed her true nature and donned this icy mask to protect herself and her mother. Your inner thoughts acted like a heavy explosive detonating within the hearts of the two women. Initially, they had intended to reprimand you for being a lecherous scoundrel, but as your inner thoughts continued to delve deeper into the truth, the expression on she recalled the events of the past and her heart grew heavy with guilt towards Su Niangshui. In the very next moment, your voice rang out once more. Niangshui, serving is far too vague a term. Could you be a bit more specific? If you were to order me to empty your chamber pot, wouldn't I be at a significant loss? Deep within, Su Niangshui screamed in exasperation. She had long since entered secluded meditation and had never even considered such a thing. Shen Wanyi, standing nearby, noticed the situation and hurriedly intervened. Niangshui, do not make things difficult for him. Xiao Ling was severely wounded after all, and he cast you a look that suggested he understood your predicament. It cannot be, mother-in-law. I truly do not understand what that look of yours implies. Very well, since mother has spoken, come to my chambers tonight and massage me. That night you knocked on the door and Su Nianshu pulled you inside. Help me massage my shoulders first, then knead my legs a little. With that, she gently rested her jade-like feet upon your hands. I could admire these feet for an entire year. Now that I recall, if I am not mistaken, she possesses the innate frost bloodline. However, with this constitution, whenever the moonless night arrives, the frigid energy within her body congeals and refuses to dissipate. The higher her cultivation base, the more excruciating this agony becomes. I once studied a specific manual. Perhaps it can help her resolve this affliction. Su Niangshui's spirit trembled, unable to believe what she had heard. In the next heartbeat, you gently took hold of her feet. At that moment, Su Niangshui felt her face burning with heat. Steam seemed to be rising from the top of her head. Instinctively, she kicked at you. Do not move. Can you stop making trouble? You hateful woman. Upon seeing your inner thoughts, Su Niangshui immediately became obedient. Very well, I must be a bit more forceful now. A surge of power flowed from the acupuncture points on her soles into her body. Xiaoling, slow down a little. This cannot be rushed. Niangshu, you must endure it. As you spoke, your full strength was unleashed. The very next second, a wave of intense pain surged forth. Su Niangshui's entire body went rigid. Yet, in an instant, she began to perceive a transformation within her physique. The hidden injuries caused by the congealed frost bloodline were shattered in that very moment. Following your movements, the excess energy within her body rapidly gathered at her dantian, showing clear signs of a breakthrough. In the following moment, a sound suddenly emanated from outside the window. Xiao Ling, what malicious schemes are you plotting against Nianzhua now? Zhang Xiaoshan leaped through the doorway, and due to this interruption, the energy within Su Nianshui's body instantly turned chaotic, sending a tearing, agonizing pain through her meridians. Shen Wanyi, who had been eavesdropping from the neighboring room to monitor her daughter's condition, surged into the room in a flash and barked sternly at Zhang Xiaokan. Who dares to trespass into my daughter's private chamber so recklessly? Auntie, the woman started, but upon recognizing Zhang Xiaokan, the fury on Shen Wanyi's face only intensified. If not for the fact that you were still healing Su Nianshui, she would have struck you down without hesitation. Yet, witnessing the scene, you did not falter for a moment, drawing the entirety of the turbulent spiritual energy from Su Nianshui's body into your own. and replacing it with your own essence to replenish her withered meridians. A surge of warm, potent spiritual energy flooded her body, acting like a spring rain nourishing her parched meridians, causing her to let out an involuntary soft moan. As that sound reached Jiang Xiaoquan's ears, his face drained of color and he stared intently at the two of you. Auntie, how can you condone them engaging in such conduct? Shen Wanyi's expression turned icy. What do you mean by such conduct? Explain yourself clearly. Sun Yanshui spoke coldly. I clearly requested Xiaoling's assistance in healing my body. Why does it sound so filthy in your mouth? Jiang Yukan glared at Sun Yanshui. Healing the body? Is that the kind of sound one makes while merely healing the body? However, he remained unaware that his behavior only allowed Sun Yanshui and Shen Wanyi to see his true nature more clearly, while you, despite hearing that sound, remained unfazed, focusing intently on healing Sun Yanshui. Sun Yanshui retorted coldly, you are overstepping your bounds. Your presence is truly nauseating. Nianxiu, I am doing this for your own good. I fear you are being deceived by this villain Xiaoling. He is nothing more than a detestable scoundrel of monstrous crimes. Shen Wanyi commanded sternly, you are the one who trespassed into Nianshu's chambers and dared to utter such disrespectful words, slandering Xiaoling and disrupting Nianshu's treatment. Do you truly call this acting for her benefit? From this moment forward, I do not wish to see you again. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yukan's body trembled violently, his eyes filled with utter despair. That same moment, you stood to the side, wearing an expression of complete bewilderment. This is not right. System, come out and explain yourself at once. Everything is correct, boss. There are no issues. You widened your eyes, thinking, you call this no issues? The heroine is on the verge of absolute hatred for Jiang Yishen. At this moment, the system muttered at length. So you are saying that according to the original plot, I had disabled my emotional sensors, which is why I was unaware that the protagonist and heroine were constantly arguing because of me. That is correct, Meow. Although the direction of the plot has deviated slightly, it remains firmly within the standard trajectory. Rest assured, boss, Meow said, eyeing the system with suspicion. The next moment, a sharp pain flared in your chest. You had aggravated your injury. As soon as your inner thoughts were revealed, the expressions of the two women shifted instantly. The gaze Sun Yanzhou leveled at Jiang Yichen turned even colder. Why have you not left yet? Do you wish for us to escort you out? Do not forget who is responsible for the injuries Xiaoling sustained. I will leave, but do not regret this. Having said that, he turned and fled the room. Seeing that Jiang Yichen had departed, Shen Wanyi spoke up. Very well, Nianshui. Xiaoling has grown weary from massaging you. Let us allow him to go and rest. Sun Yangshe was stunned for a moment before nodding. She retrieved a bottle of medicinal pills for healing from her storage bag and handed it to you. Rest for now. I shall sleep in the guest room tonight. Watching their silhouettes depart, you subconsciously scratched your head. According to the original plot, shouldn't they be utterly disgusted with me by now? At the Shenshubi Xiao Palace, Shen Wanyi led Sun Yanshui as they pushed open the doors and entered. Master, hearing Sun Yanshui's voice, Ling Hanyan slowly opened her eyes. She was the master of Sun Yanshui. Upon seeing Shen Wanyi, a hint of surprise appeared on Ling Hanyan's face. Madam, this matter was the work of Xiao Ling. Upon hearing this, Ling Hanyan's expression shifted drastically. That boy has bullied Nianxiu again? Hearing this, the two shook their heads repeatedly, saying, it is not like that. They then proceeded to recount the entire sequence of events to Ling Hanyan. This Xiao Ling actually possesses such ability. A strand of spiritual energy probed into Sun Yangshui's body. One could see the chilling spiritual energy coursing through Sun Nianshui's entire body, and her meridians were no longer in the state of disarray they once were. Nianshui, your constitution has finally been perfected. You need only refine the flame within your body to balance the flaws of your cultivation technique. My disciple, the path of the great Tao now lies smooth and unobstructed before you. Ling Hanyan's words sent a shock through Sun Yanshui's mind, and that exquisite face could no longer maintain its customary cold indifference. For so many years I have been tortured by the ice bloodline to the point where death would have been a mercy, yet you have solved it so effortlessly. The next day, in your quarters, Sun Nianshu grabbed your hand and pulled you straight outside. We are leaving now, but where are we going? Do not think for a moment that I will serve you. Sun Yanshu gritted her teeth and replied, I am taking you to meet my master. She has a few things she wishes to ask you. Was this part of the original plot? It was, but according to the original narrative, you were supposed to be severely injured, with her master coming to your door personally to brand you with the ice seal. Sun Nianshui pushed open the door to the cultivation room, and Ling Hanyan looked towards you. Boy, how do you bully my Nianshui? Although your master is formidable, so much so that even I am no match for her, do you not owe me an explanation? It is starting. I knew this woman was about to cast the ice seal upon me. A moment later, a cold, elegant voice echoed from outside the door. Disciple, does it truly require an explanation to others when I act? The figure of Luochang slowly manifested. Master, why are you here? This is disastrous. The plot is on the verge of collapsing again. Upon seeing those inner thoughts appear, Luochang's imposing aura came to an immediate halt. Collapsing? If the plot deviates, will you be forced to start all over again? Shortly after, memories of the various assassination attempts you mentioned in your previous inner thoughts resurfaced in Luochang's mind, causing her to wonder how many times you had faced death, to become as fearful and paranoid as you are now. Thinking of this, Luochang immediately suppressed her terrifying aura. Ling Hanyan hurriedly attempted to mediate. Fellow Taoist Luochang, you jest. I merely noticed that young Master Xiao possesses extraordinary natural talent, and as there was a slight misunderstanding with Niang Shou, I simply wish to offer a little guidance. Very well, since fellow Taoist Ling is so gracious, I shall trouble you then. The corners of Ling Hanyan's mouth curled slightly, a flicker of deceit passing through her eyes barely perceptible. You are too kind, fellow Taoist Luochang. Young Master Xiao, please relax your body and mind. I shall begin the examination immediately. You stand frozen in place, yet your heart is surging with excitement. Come now, the time is near to receive the imprint. Luo Chang stares intently at your inner thoughts, feeling as if 10,000 steel needles are piercing his heart. He cannot even draw a breath. The next moment, Ling Hanyan stretches out her hand, and in an instant, a wave of icy cold spreads throughout your entire body. So cold is this truly the power of the frost imprint? It is as agonizing as expected. However, you do not realize that what Ling Hanyan has placed upon you is not the frost imprint, but the Nine Nether imprint. The power of the Nine Nether imprint is far greater than that of the frost imprint, but if one can endure this immense power, both their bones and natural talent will undergo a qualitative leap. Xiaoling. Oh Xiaoling, I bestow this fortune upon you, hoping you are capable of seizing it. By now your face is covered in a layer of frost, but it dissipates rapidly and the injuries within your body are gradually healing. Seeing that you have followed the predetermined path, Luo Chang immediately asks with feigned concern, Disciple, how do you feel? Is there anything that feels unwell? Master is truly good to me, even though she is clearly beyond disappointed in me. Let me recall. What was the reason we eventually turned against each other? Ah, I remember now. My injuries had only just begun to recover with great difficulty. When Master came to visit me, I was bold and reckless enough to secretly poison her. But given Master's level of cultivation, how could I ever hope to succeed? As a result, she saw through my vile nature completely. By then, I should be able to secretly plant the Crown Prince's jade pendant on her, so she can withstand the fatal blow from Jiang Yichen and the lingering souls of those sect emperors. Since young Master Xiao has recovered, stop disturbing my cultivation and take your leave. Luo Chang fixes her gaze upon Ling Hanyan. I have etched this grudge into my memory today. No sooner have you walked a short distance from the cultivation room than you run into Jiang Yichen. You see Jiang Yichen clutching a chipped longsword, while the surrounding disciples whisper amongst themselves, their words filled with mockery and contempt for Jiang Yichen. You observe that broken blade, and your mind begins to calculate, for if you recall correctly, this broken sword is the personal weapon of the Shuyuan Emperor, and it is capable of more than just sensing the location of the Shuyuan sword intent within the Bixiao Palace, and could even refine it into his own strength, Jiang Yichen. In his previous life, it was thanks to this very blade that Jiang Yichen paved his path toward invincibility step by step. Luo Chang and Sunyan Shui, hearing your inner thoughts, were instantly struck with astonishment. Both of them were already secretly calculating how to seize this broken sword for themselves. Just as they were each harboring their own private schemes, Jiang Yichen walked up to them, his gaze fixed solely upon Sunyan Shui. Niang Shui, it was my fault last night. I wish to offer you my apologies. Before his words had even faded, his eyes shifted to Luo Chang, standing beside her, and they suddenly lit up. And this is Jiang Yichen's eyes burned with intense curiosity as he stared at Luo Chang. Observing Jiang Yin's demeanor, Luo Chang and Sunyan Shui both felt a wave of revulsion rise within them. You stepped forward, placing yourself between them, a mocking curve tugging at the corner of your lips. To think you would dare show off such a pile of scrap metal, do you not possess a mirror to see your own worth? Upon hearing this, a cold light flashed in Jiang Yichen's eyes. He barely restrained himself from striking out. At that same moment, a series of bizarre, ghostly chuckles emanated from within Jiang Yichen's storage ring. What a fool, blind to the truth, he cannot even discern the origin of this blade. Boy, do not let this pathetic clown disturb your state of mind. Jiang Yichen took a deep breath. That goes without saying. Strength comes from the cultivator, not the weapon. A child of a noble house like you will never comprehend this truth. Well said, young man. Had I not known the true state of this broken sword, I might have been deceived by you, you mused, reading his inner thoughts. Luo Chang and Nian Shu both felt that Jiang Yichen was the definition of hypocrisy. He clearly clutched a divine artifact while feigning indifference. You listened, then secretly summoned the system. Is there any further plot progression? Yes, boss. According to the original side quest narrative, upon waking, you discover that Jiang Yichen is preparing to invite Sunyan Shui out. Consequently, you publicly challenge Jiang Yichen, demanding an explanation only to be soundly defeated by him. After contemplating this for a long moment, you realize that although Jiang Yichen had yet to invite Sunyan Shui, this was the perfect opportunity to fulfill this segment of the plot. Thus you feigned indignation and spoke out. Jiang Yichen, your persistence truly knows no bounds. Are you attempting to lure my woman away for some illicit purpose again? Sunyan Shui's expression immediately turned peculiar. What do you mean by your woman? Hearing this, Jiang Yichen hurriedly spoke to Sunyan Shui. I have just accepted a mission to descend the mountain. The contribution points are quite abundant. Would you like to accompany me? Hearing this, Sunyan Shui was left speechless. What need did she have for contribution points at this moment? Just as she was about to refuse, you stepped forward and spoke. Do you even understand human speech? You dare to ignore me? What is it that you want? You pointed at Jiang Yichen, your face twisted into the trademark menacing sneer of a villain. The ambush you pulled last time does not count. My injuries have fully recovered, so if you are capable, meet me at the life and death arena for a duel. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding crowd erupted into gasps of shock. The gazes directed at Jiang Yichen were now filled with deep sympathy. Very well, but since we are stepping onto the life and death arena, we must increase the stakes. If I lose, you may do as you please with me, but if I win, you are never to disturb Niangshu again. Agreed. I might even call off my engagement to her. Upon hearing this, Su Niangshui's expression shifted and ripples of emotion stirred within her heart. She only then realized that ever since she began hearing the various revelations from your inner thoughts, she had unintentionally developed a sense of reliance upon you. A faint, bitter ache surged within her chest, followed by the sound of your inner voice ringing out once more. How could that be? I am the villain, after all. Villains do not keep their word. Even if I agree to you now, I will still go to harass Nianshui when the time comes. Heh. As Su Niangshui read these inner thoughts, she was first stunned, then unable to hold back a soft laugh. This smile was like ice and snow melting, radiant and breathtakingly beautiful. Seeing this, Zhang Yichen's eyes flickered with wild delight, thinking that Nianshu must still harbor feelings for him. Otherwise, she would not be so happy to hear about the cancellation of their engagement. Immediately after, he took a step forward, looking at Su Niangshui with an affectionate gaze. Rest assured, Niangshu, I will certainly demand justice on your behalf. Su Niangshu, who had been smiling, could no longer maintain her expression. Your inner voice resonated once more. What an utterly nauseating line. If I were Su Niangshu, I would want to vomit too. The two of you were already surrounded by a dense crowd of onlookers at the life and death arena, and you added, I will not bully you. You may use whatever treasures you possess. So do not claim later that I used my cultivation level to oppress you. Having long anticipated that Jiang Yichen would utter those words, you smile inwardly. Very well, you asked for this. If it is a demonstration you desire, today I shall let you witness the true depth and heritage of the Tianxing clan. With a flick of your sleeve, a stream of flowing light flashes, an ancient command token hangs suspended in midair. It is the Taihu Yuling token. Legend says that this token contains 9 layers, each layer housing countless powerful spirit beasts, capable of summoning even great emperor-level divine beasts. A chorus of gasps erupts from the arena below, and in the next heartbeat, a colossal silhouette slowly emerges from the token. To everyone's astonishment, it is the Mingyuan Demon Emperor. The surrounding crowd draws a sharp breath. This is a legendary divine beast, and although it appears to be in its infancy, it has already attained the strength of the nascent soul stage. This is not an opponent that a golden core cultivator like Zhang Yichen can hope to withstand. Just as the spectators are lost in a frenzy of whispers, Zhang Yichen speaks slowly. Do you believe that relying on a single nascent soul spirit beast is enough to defeat me? As he speaks, his momentum shifts violently. An instant later, the sudden pressure of a nascent soul expert descends. As expected of the protagonist, since it has come to this, I shall hold nothing back. The next second, the Mingyuan Demon Emperor behind you suddenly opens its eyes, and an invisible domain silently unfolds. Within this domain, the laws of death are embedded, seemingly capable of devouring all traces of life. The circulation of spiritual energy within Jiang Yishen's body instantly sluggish, as if bound by invisible hands. What kind of sorcery is this? The voice from within the ring resonates once more. This is your opponent's pet domain. You must escape this field immediately, or the consequences will be dire. Hearing this, Jiang Yichen desperately urges the spiritual energy within him, but he remains unable to break free from the shackles. So, you are finally taking this seriously? As your inner thoughts manifest, Jiang Yichen lets out a thunderous roar on the stage, choosing to incinerate his essence blood to forcibly elevate his power. I knew it, you lament inwardly. You are useless for anything other than putting on a grand show. You recall that in your previous life, it was the same. You barely had to exert yourself to drive Jiang Yichen to his wit's end. Sun Yangshui cannot help but chuckle at the sight. Back when you kidnapped her, you were reduced to a similarly pathetic state. With that, you promptly command the Mingyuan Demon Emperor to withdraw the domain. Simultaneously, Zhang Yichen bellows, "Break for me." Just as he prepares to incinerate his essence blood to unleash his ultimate technique, you and your spirit beast vomit blood and are sent flying backward, unable to claim victory despite exhausting your full strength. Who on earth are you? Zhang Yichen stares in bewilderment at you as you lie on the ground. I have yet to even make a move, yet you are already sprawled upon the ground, with blood gushing from your mouth as if it were worthless water. Standing on the stage, Su Xingyuan laughed coldly and remarked, I knew it. Trash of this caliber is fundamentally no match for Zhang Yichen. Truly, he is the disciple I chose myself. He possesses the natural aptitude of a great emperor. At this moment, Shen Wanyi looked at Su Xingyuan beside her as if staring at a fool. Xiaolang's performance has become so exaggerated, yet you people still fail to see it? Zhang Yichen glared down at you from above, a flicker of killing intent in his eyes, though he restrained himself under the counsel of the remnant soul. Is this truly the extent of your strength? Do you not realize you have already brought shame upon the Xiao family? Then perhaps you have misunderstood our Xiao family. My father, in his youth, once chopped down an enlightenment tree while my grandfather was in deep meditation, causing the old man to suffer from qi deviation, and furthermore, my father had an extreme penchant for cross-dressing, nearly earning him the title of sect master of the Meihua sect, so compared to that, I have yet to bring any real shame. Upon hearing your inner thoughts, the 3 women could not help but tremble, struggling to contain their laughter. Sun Yangshui held back her laughter until her entire body shook, tears even gathering at the corners of her eyes. Look, Nianxiu also believes you are nothing but trash. Excellent to be so agitated by my defeat. It is clear this woman hates me to the marrow. When I toyed with her jade feet yesterday, she must have felt nothing but disgust in her heart. When she eventually strikes me down, she will surely unleash a ruthless blow, a truly cathartic end. Haha. Sun Yankangshe, who had been laughing until she wept, suddenly found her tears flowing uncontrollably the moment she read your inner thoughts. Xiao Lang, how much suffering have you endured to desire death to such a degree? Thinking of how your past life ended because of her, a surge of profound guilt welled up within her heart. Enough. Zhang Yichen ceased his assault. Luo Cheng finished speaking, his figure. Luo Cheng, I respect you as a senior, but do not forget that this is the Bixao Palace. In the next moment, the pressure of Luo Cheng's void-returning realm was unleashed, and the surrounding atmosphere instantly froze. Sect Master Su, are you threatening me? Su Xingyuan suppressed the fear deep within his heart. You go too far, Supreme. I am merely stating the truth. Since Xiaoling's skills were inferior to his opponents, are others not allowed to speak of it? The corners of Luo Cheng's mouth curled into a mocking arc. Inferior skills. If Sect Master Su wishes to put it that way, he then slowly raised a finger, pointing directly toward the Bixao Palace. This single strike contained the power to destroy the heavens and annihilate the earth. In a flash, the sky and earth changed color. The grand defensive formation of the Bixao Palace emitted a thunderous roar. The piercing sound made the hearts of everyone present beat erratically, and some even showed signs of vomiting blood. Sect Master Su, if I can destroy your sect with just one finger, may I also say that it is due to your inferior skills? Su Xinjuan's entire body trembled instantly. Unable to withstand the pressure, he collapsed to his knees with a thud. Following this, Luoqing turned and departed. Just as he returned to his chambers, the familiar voice of the system echoed once more. Congratulations to the host for completing the plot sequence. The plot completion rate has reached 98%. Reward, 1 Emperor's Banner and an increase in cultivation base of 100 years. As it spoke, a pitch-black Emperor's Banner dark as ink appeared and slowly began to spin. Remarkable, the reward is actually the Emperor's Banner. Tell me, system, what is the current progress of the plot? It is time for the host to ply the master with wine. Upon hearing this, you decisively took a handful of onions and rubbed them vigorously into your eyes, causing tears to stream down like a fountain. Master, I am not resigned to this. Luo Shuang looked at the progress bar above your head. To help you advance the plot, she cooperated by speaking in a cold tone. Your skills were inferior to another's. What is there not to be resigned about? Excellent, with such a rigid tone, Master must be utterly disappointed in me. Your face revealed a look of shock and agony as you trembled, stepping forward to tightly grasp your master's right hand. Master, what are you saying? Are you not the one who loves me most? Why must you treat me in such a manner? Luo Cheng remained silent, at a loss for how to respond. The heartless words she meant to speak felt like an invisible blade, cutting off the sound in her throat. Do you see this expression on Luo Cheng's face? You spoke once more, I understand now. You are also fond of that Zhang Yichen, are you not? You all favor him. As you said this, the corners of your mouth curled into a bitter, self-deprecating smile. I understand. After all, I am merely a good-for-nothing wastrel, while Zhang Yichen is the child of destiny. I understand it all. Since we share the bond of master and disciple and I am not in high spirits today, would you drink a cup with me? You then produced a jar of wine from your storage ring. Looking at the wine jar, Luo Cheng recalled your previous state of mind. She offered a wry smile and said, Very well, I shall drink with you. You both raised your cups, but before Luo Cheng could swallow the liquid, she saw your body begin to sway, as if you might collapse at any moment. Seeing this, a flicker of suspicion crossed her beautiful eyes. She was unsure what game you were playing. An instant later, you collapsed face down onto the table. Could this little one truly not know his own limits, or did he simply not know how to drink? Luo Cheng turned to carry you to the bed, and after tucking you in, she turned to depart. Suddenly, she felt her hand gently gripped by yours. Looking down, she noticed a piece of warm, lustrous jade on her wrist, which emitted a faint light. Master, forgive me. I did not intend to anger you. You must live well. Luo Cheng froze, only then realizing that her eyes had become wet with tears without her knowing. The following day, you woke up in a daze, feeling as though your head were splitting with pain. Your chest felt heavy, as if someone had been holding you in their sleep throughout the night. You then summoned the system. System, is this correct? I recall planning to get my master drunk yesterday. That is correct. You moved your master to tears. The plot points were executed perfectly. You have been rewarded with the star-piercing sword and a century of cultivation. What on earth? Moved to tears? What exactly did I do yesterday? As these thoughts occupied your mind, Sunyang Shui quietly appeared in the room. So why has this woman come here? According to the plot, shouldn't she be out on a trial expedition with Zhang Yichen right now? Streams of inner thoughts flashed across Sunyang Shui's eyes. A flicker of brilliance sparked in her gaze, as if she had already devised a way to reclaim the broken sword from Zhang Yichen. Thinking of this, Sunyang Shui looked toward you, asking, Is this what you call serving? You are truly a profound disappointment. I believe you should get lost and return to the Shao clan, and go back to being your pampered, good-for-nothing young master. Seeing this, you felt a surge of secret joy. This was how the plot should proceed. Sunyang Shui, you were in such a hurry to chase me away? Upon hearing this, Sunyang Shui took a deep breath, struggling to suppress her rising anger. These were the cruelest words you could possibly muster. Xiaoling, you have truly disappointed me beyond measure. Wow, this woman's words carry quite the sting. At this rate, the plot will definitely not veer off course. Seeing the inner delight on your face, Sunyang Shui felt a complex surge of emotions, silently vowing that she must save you from this wretched plot. Her hands hidden within her sleeves clenched into tight fists. Get lost, go back to your Shao clan. As she spoke, she produced a marriage contract. Sunyang Shui's gaze lingered upon the document. It was something she had yearned to be free from countless times, yet now that the annulment was truly at hand, she felt an unexpected and profound bitterness in her heart. A moment later, she released her grip and the marriage contract fluttered down to your feet, flashes of agony surfacing in her eyes. You said that if you lost the duel, we would annul the engagement. Back at the Shao clan manor, your father handed you a commission. You saw that it was a request for aid from the Tianquan dynasty, and at that very moment, the system's voice rang out once more. Branch plot detected. Will the host accept? You were stunned for a moment, suddenly realizing that the Tianquan dynasty was home to a vital heroine, Mu Qingjiao. At this thought, you resolutely accepted the mission. You mounted a bronze stallion and descended upon the palace of the Tianquan dynasty, where the princes. You scanned the room, immediately noticing the young princess Mo Qingjiao standing alone in the corner. Though still young, Mo Qingjiao already possesses the makings of a great beauty. According to the plot, I should now claim to fall in love with her at first sight, then drop a hint to the old emperor to have her brought to my chambers tonight. With this thought in mind, you smile and say to the emperor, I have heard that the song and dance of the Tianquan dynasty are quite exquisite. I wonder if your majesty has any dancers who are particularly charming and would be willing to keep me company this evening. The emperor, upon hearing this, immediately understands your intent. Yes, of course, I shall make the arrangements at once and ensure the honored master is satisfied. The emperor's perception is sharp. He immediately notices the particular interest you are taking in Mo Qingjiao. Meanwhile, amidst the crowd, Mo Qingjiao notices the dialogue box hovering above your head, and catching her father's gaze, her complexion turns as pale as a sheet. The evening banquet arrives quickly. Mo Qingjiao quietly inspects the food and wine on the table and sure enough discovers something unusual hidden within the delicacies. She hurriedly finds an excuse to slip away from the banquet and, in a secluded spot, quietly spits out the wine. Shortly after, she hears the voice of a maid behind her. Your Highness, please, just accept your fate. The Xiao family is not someone we can afford to offend. Mo Qingjiao, with a look of absolute despair, begs the maids for mercy, but she is ultimately adorned in fine garments and brought to your chambers. You look down at the unconscious Mo Qingjiao on the bed, feeling a sense of helplessness within. I recall that this young girl possesses the innate chaos sacred body. On the surface, she appears to have no cultivation foundation, but in reality, she has the power to devour the cultivation of others. Following the original plot, she only awakens her cultivation technique after she undergoes a dark transformation, and since she cannot kill me directly, she can only use that meager strength to torture me bit by bit. Do you truly think I will allow such a thing to come to pass? Mo Qingjiao is bloodless, trembling as she stares at the dialogue box above your head, feeling that in the next second you might strike her down. Just as she is gripped by terror, your large hands reach out and a surging wave of power pours into Mo Qingjiao's body. That surge of energy is like a spring breeze across a lake, gently enveloping her. This little girl, that expression of hers is truly heart-wrenching. Who could have imagined that this white lotus would one day become a female demon lord? Oh, that is right. I must maintain my character setting. She cannot be allowed to see through me. She stares at you in a daze, your face now appearing to soften, yet at the same time you wear that classic sinister smirk. Ha, little sister, even if you scream until your throat tears, no one will come to save you. So saying, your hands glide over Mo Qingjiao, causing her body to tremble incessantly with fear. Yet very quickly she realized that while your hands seemed to glide across her body, they never once touched where they should not. Instead, you channeled a stream of spiritual energy through her body with a mysterious technique, as if you were clearing away hidden obstructions. Shortly after, she was astonished to discover that she could finally sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and a wave of complex emotions welled up within her heart. Why would you treat me with such gentleness? I am merely a princess who has never known favor. Very well, your meridians have been cleared. Reaching the position of a great emperor is now only a matter of time. According to the original plot, I would have nearly succeeded tonight, had I not suddenly noticed an heirloom belonging to my great aunt upon her person. Thinking of this, you swept your divine sense forward and indeed discovered a jade pendant on Mu Qingjiao's wrist bearing the unique mark of Xiao Changluan. You flicked a surge of spiritual energy forward, and sensing the attack, a phantom image manifested before you. It was none other than the great aunt Xiao Changluan. Heavens, you immediately steadied yourself. Great aunt, how do you know this young girl? You gestured toward Mu Qingjiao, stating that you were merely wiping sweat from her brow, but Xiao Changluan's divine sense had already swept through Mu Qingjiao's body, discovering that even though the girl was previously unable to cultivate, there was now a faint trace of spiritual energy slowly circulating within her, and without needing to guess, she knew this was surely your handiwork. Seeing Xiao Chengluan remain silent, she is truly worthy of being my great aunt. Merely standing there, she clearly manifested her absolute disappointment in a person. Surely she must be so shocked by my actions that she is left speechless. Looking at the inner thoughts hovering above your head, Xiao Chengluan was indeed silent, but only because she was rendered helpless by your bizarre train of thought. What kind of chaotic, nonsensical things are running through this child's mind? By this moment, Mu Qingjiao had understood everything, fearing that what you said was indeed the truth, and that in the future she would truly be the one to kill this elder brother. Thinking of this, Mu Qingjiao could no longer hold back her tears. Excellent, she is already this distraught. It seems she is truly destined to kill me in the future. Following this, Xiao Chengluan brought forth a cultivation manual. Little Qingjiao, you have suffered greatly. Let this manual serve as an apology from me on behalf of Xiao Ling. Can you forgive this elder brother of yours? Qingjiao shook her head gently. Seeing the tenderness in the depths of your eyes, she understood that you never intended to harm her. It is finished, it is over. It seems this young lady hates me to the bone, but the objective remains paramount. My lady, I must take my leave. You spoke and immediately vanished without a trace. Mo Qingjiao did not even have time to call out to stop you. Watching your figure disappear, she murmured softly, I do not blame you, brother. Everything is proceeding exactly according to the plot. You stood at the edge of a 10,000-foot precipice. Behind you was a battlefield of scorching flames, and beneath your feet lay an abyss so deep its bottom remained hidden from sight. The fierce winds billowed, causing your blood-stained robes to flutter violently. This is the final chapter, the curtain call for the villain. According to the original plot, you were to be besieged here by Zhang Yichen in league with several remnants of great emperor souls, eventually exhausting your strength and falling into the abyss, dying without a corpse to bury, and your death would serve as the final stepping stone on Zhang Yichen's path to divinity. System, what is the completion rate of the plot? 99% master. Once you complete this final act, you will be able to return to your original world. You took a deep breath, watching Zhang Yichen and the remnants of the great emperors behind him slowly closing in from the distance. A smile of relief curled the corner of your mouth. It is finally almost over. In this life, you have acted until you were weary, you have been beaten enough, you have vomited enough blood, and you have suffered enough grievances. But in your heart, you understood clearly. Every ostentatious display of power, every mouthful of fresh blood sprayed was for the sake of this perfect finale. Xiaoling, today is the anniversary of your death. Zhang Yichen roared, the broken Qinghu Yuan sword in his hand erupting with heaven-shaking sword intent. Several remnants of great emperor souls struck simultaneously, their world-destroying power surging toward you like a tidal wave. You closed your eyes. The life substitution jade pendant had already been quietly tucked into Luo Cheng's storage ring, and the 9 nether mark was sufficient for Sun Nian Shui to break through her bottleneck. Mo Qingjiao's meridians had been opened. In the future, she would surely be able to walk her own path. Shen Wanyi would surely take good care of Sun Nian Shui. Everything had been arranged. However, at the very moment that heaven-destroying, earth-shattering attack was about to descend upon you, a beam of icy blue sword light tore through the void, decisively cleaving that power in two. You suddenly snapped your eyes open. Sun Yang Shui, clad in white robes and wielding the Xuanwang bell, floated in the air, her frost bloodline fully awakened. A bone-chilling spiritual aura radiated from her entire being, her momentum so potent that she had broken through to the Guishu realm. Sun Yang Shui, you've gone mad. This is not your storyline, you screamed frantically in your heart. The dialogue bubbles above your head shattered in response. Sun Yang Shui gazed at those bubbles, a corner of her mouth curling upward, wearing an expression that carried both heartache and an unwavering determination. I have already told you, casting this old lady aside is not that easy. The next moment, the figure of Lu Cheng stepped out from the void, her Guishu realm pressure descending like Mount Tai. She wore that warm jade pendant on her wrist, her eyes fixed calmly upon you. You brat, you think you can court death without asking if your master agrees? This is disastrous, the plot is collapsing. System, you frantically called out for the system, but the only reply was a prolonged, heavy silence. Immediately thereafter, a small figure soared in from the horizon. Mu Qingjiao rode atop a newly tamed spirit beast, clutching the cultivation manual that Xiao Changluan had given her, her eyes red-rimmed yet filled with profound resolve. I will not let you die. Shen Wanyi also rushed over from the direction of Bishao Palace, gripping her magical artifact, her presence stable and composed. Standing beside Sun Nianjue with Ling Hanyan following closely behind, her entire body brimming with bone-chilling spiritual energy as she coldly eyed the great emperor remnants behind Zhang Yichen. The 5 women stood together, shielding you from the danger ahead. The expression on Zhang Yichen's face changed entirely. The remnants of the great emperors behind him also began to display signs of unease. This was because the combined strength of these individuals had far surpassed the parameters set by the original plot. Impossible, the plot was not meant to unfold like this. The remnant soul within the ring shrieked in terror. You stood rooted to the spot, watching their backs, speechless for a long moment. Can a system like this still be considered within the trajectory of the plot? The system remained silent for a long time before finally speaking, but this time its tone lacked any trace of mockery, replaced by an unprecedented gravity. Host, you have discovered that multiple key characters have simultaneously deviated from their predetermined paths. The plot framework can no longer be maintained. The will of the world is currently restructuring. What does that mean? It means this world is no longer merely a book. You were stunned. Ever since Sun Yang Shui first heard your inner thoughts, this world had already begun to change in secret. Each of their choices, every action taken against the script, is infusing this world with true will. When enough people choose their own destiny, this world no longer has any need for a script. So the boss no longer has to die? The system paused for a moment, its voice trembling with a hint of choked emotion. There is no need to act any longer, Meow. You stood at the edge of the abyss, the wind rising from the depths, whipping through your hair. Before you were 5 towering figures, and behind you lay the bottomless chasm. You suddenly smiled. It was not the wicked grin of a villain in power, nor a self-deprecating bitter smile, nor the exaggerated artificial smirk worn during your performance, but a smile that originated from the depths of your heart. A truly genuine smile. Su Niangshui turned her head back to see the final bubble appearing above your head. So this is what it feels like to be protected from behind. Is it truly meant to end like this? The bubble drifted slowly upward, reflecting the seven-colored light beneath the sun, before shattering in silence, dissolving into stardust that vanished upon the wind. From that moment on, the dialogue bubble above your head never appeared again, for you no longer needed to conceal your heart. Many years later, at the back mountain of the Tianxing family, you sat beneath the ancient locust tree brewing tea. Su Niangshu sat across from you, her fingers playfully tracing the mysterious yellow bell, a faint smile gracing the corners of her lips. Luo Cheng leaned against the tree trunk, eyes closed to restore his spirit, his wrist still adorned with that warm piece of jade. From the distant courtyard, the hearty laughter of Mu Qingjiao drifted over. She was sparring with Shen Wanyi, and every time she suffered a defeat, she would refuse to admit it. As for Zhang Yichen, after losing the halo of the Child of Destiny, the power he had borrowed receded like a retreating tide, leaving him as nothing more than an entirely ordinary cultivator. No one remembered his name, and no one cared where he went. This world finally reached a point where it no longer required villains or protagonists. The fragrance of tea lingered through the quiet, peaceful years. You lifted the teacup, taking a gentle sip, then looked toward Su Niangshui sitting opposite you, and spoke with sincerity the words you had suppressed for so long. Will you marry me? This time it was said with complete sincerity. Su Niangshui set the mysterious yellow bell aside, and a gentle smile finally rippled through her cold, clear eyes. I had assumed you would never bring yourself to say it aloud.